Yes, it looks gorgeous.
All right, perfect. All right, so the biggest thing that's going on in the market today is our market shift. Everybody's saying, hey, check this out. Things are really happening fast. We've had price reductions upwards to 10, 15% in the last couple of weeks. And from what I hear, it's kind of a Southern California trend. Now, one of the benefits of us being in the business as heavily as we are, doing as many transactions as we get to feel things that most agents don't get to feel, right? So if you only sell 1 or 2 homes a month, you're like, hey, the market hasn't changed. There's still multiple offers on this listing. Everything is doing fine. Well, the reality is we have 48 signs in the ground, and I have 45 people telling me they want open houses 4 days a week. So there's definitely a shift. We've had a bunch of listings that haven't had showings in 7 to 10 days, and I'm not 100% sure what kind of buyers, agents are on here, whether they're buyers agents, team agents, both sellers. So I'm just going to kind of get into this a little bit, and I apologize. I have a let's see here. How can I switch this? You know what? This was for a presentation yesterday, but if you guys don't listen to my podcast and some of these, you might want to jump on there. Real Estate Marketing Show. The bottom right-hand corner is mine. It's Real Estate Marketing Show. I'm gonna push you towards that today for a couple different reasons. So write that down or remember that, realestatemaringshow.com.
It's so good. It's the best. Absolutely.
Thanks, buddy. So definite changes ahead, and here's my indicators, right? These are what I'm seeing, my opinions. This isn't something I've seen in the media. This isn't something that somebody's telling me. This is crap that I'm seeing every single day in my career. Open house signs everywhere. Sunny, would you agree some of the people on this call do open houses?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about it. So whether you guys like it or not, open houses are the absolute #1 way to get leads, period. There's not a better lead source that I've tested in 28 years in this business that works quicker, faster, cheaper, easier, and is very powerful. But one thing you notice is there's open house signs everywhere. When you go to a corner of a major intersection and you see 20 signs, that's a really good indicator of homes staying on the market longer. Duh, it's kind of self-explanatory. The reality is us as agents doing open houses, there's a couple things we need to think about. Number 1, be ethical. Don't kick all of them down and just leave yours up. Number 2, you're supposed to laugh, Sydney. Number 2, you have to, when you do an open house, I like to, I kind of coined the term mega open house 20 years ago. And the mega open house is just something different, things that you got to do things bigger and better. If you were a buyer, imagine this, if you went to 20 different open houses on a Saturday or Sunday, what is going to make you memorable? What's going to completely make them want to work with you? So back to my podcast, realestatemaringshow.com, that has 2 hours of open house training. So if you're going to completely screw up your Saturday or Sunday, or even I recommend weekday open houses as well, you might as well do it right. I'll give you a couple quick tips and we'll move on because I know we only have 20 minutes now that we completely boshed this whole thing.
We can go a little bit longer, brother.
Okay, so a couple of the biggest tips. Number 1 tip, do the open house from 10 to 6. Reason being is everybody else does from 12 to 3 or 11 to 4. Why not get the people in? And then the ones that stay later, you'll get those people. That's just one huge advantage I used to have growing up in this industry. I'd be, oh, thanks for going to my open house. Oh, you're the only one. Or when everybody's shutting it down at 4, you stay till 6, right? It's summertime. It doesn't get dark till 9. There's no reason to stop. People are still out and about driving around. The second biggest thing is have as much stuff in there as you possibly can. I would recommend you bring your laptops and printers, give them market evaluations right there, and go crazy. And why wouldn't you just sign them up on your Commissions Inc. open house app for them and say, here, I'm going to email you the very best, the very latest, and talk to them about how your software is dominant and you're going to be able to do things that other agents can't or won't. I promise you there's not a bunch of agents in there with their sync apps or signing people up on Ylopo right there. So that's very powerful. And then the third thing I would recommend is still, even in this market where they think there's a lot of inventory, show them the things that you do that will show them that you can find off-market properties, and have as much stuff around you as possible, brochures, magazines. Those are just a few quick tips on open houses, but they have to be different. What is going to set you aside from the other 20 agents? Before, when there's only 1 or 2, it's easy. I've been hearing that 100 people went to an open house last week, and then I heard 1 at the same time. So what are you doing to advertise that? What are you doing to knock it? But there's some really good stuff on there. All right, move forward just a tad. Let's see if I can get this to go. How much wiggle room is there? So I'm a listing agent, right? I don't work with buyers, but what I do know is over the last, say, 3 weeks, it's been a big deal. Agents are calling me left and right, and the usual conversation was, "Hey guys, how many offers do you have on this property? Are they above full price?" Does that make sense? Is that what we've been hearing? But now in the last couple of weeks, the agents are calling me or even giving me listing feedback. How much wiggle room is in there? How much negotiation room is in there? What can I get this property for? My clients really like it, but it needs this, it needs that, it needs this, and what if we wrote an offer at this? That is a huge indicator, and it's kind of like all the sellers go to a class and say, here's sellers 101 or buyer 101, how do we trip out our agents? And they all say the same crapping thing. So that's just an indicator to me that it's good for us as buyers agents because there's a lot of negotiation room. I have a listing that went from 675 to 600,000 this week, and that's a big jump in that price range, right? That's over 10%. So there's some good opportunity out there. But when you're calling these agents and asking them how much wiggle room is there, you're going to drive them crazy. I would call and add value to them and say, listen, I have very qualified clients. I'm a very good agent, very easy agent to work with. I have them only pre-approved with the best of the best lenders. I want to work with you as a team to get this deal through, and start treating them like a colleague and not just how much wiggle room is in there. You can always tell your buyers that you've asked that question, but really, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I can appreciate the fact that you want to know how much wiggle room is in there. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to treat you like I would treat a seller. I'm going to sit down with you and go over the comparables. Now, it's powerful to do that right now, and it's seriously important because number one, if the market is just now shifting, and in the last 30, 60, 90 days, we have super high sale prices still, it's still really easy to get people to write high offers. So before it was just, oh, just write it at full price or above, hope you get it. And now at least go with the comparables. The buyers think you're actually working for them, but then you submit those comparables with your offer, whether it's in a downward fashion or not. They like to see what the other prices are going for. So that's just a good indicator of market changing. Not too much more on that as far as how to write the offer. I think there's a podcast on there too that says, I think it says how to get your offer accepted every time. And I think that goes for a good market or a bad market or declining, whatever, stable. So go back to the podcast and listen to that about how to get your offer accepted every single time.
Mike, can I ask you a question real
Sure.
quick and make a comment? So everybody on this call, something that is so great about Mr. Mike Bjorkman is he has a scripting he has a script for every scenario you'll ever deal with. So listen closely when he drops these scripts because that's part of the money right there.
Cindy, can you type in there the realestatemarketingshow.com somewhere so I can keep talking? All right, so another really interesting indicator that the market's coming back. I own a property management company called California Leasing, 600-something properties. And in the last 90 days, people are trying to take advantage of their equity and saying, look, Mike, we've really appreciated your services. We're going to go sell our house and cash out. Cool, I'm good with that. Here's what I know. Lately, these people have been coming back to me and saying, we didn't get the price we wanted. We tried for 30, 60, 90 days, and my agent wanted me to reduce the price so much and back to your portfolio. So they're giving them back to us. And this is the first time we've seen this in 5 years. So it's an interesting phenomenon, and you guys pay close attention with that. One of the benefits of being a buyer's agent and doing your due diligence is work with the property management companies close by you. Whenever you're looking for a property, don't just look through the MLS and don't just look through the past expireds and canceled. Also call your property managers locally because they do have a handful of people that are wanting to sell and they know about it. We talk to them all the time. So, and make sure you say, hey, look, I'm willing to give you a little referral fee if you can find me one of these listings. So that's a good little tip that nobody ever thinks about in the buyer's agent realm. Here's another indicator of a changing market for me. So the very best script in the world, and I'm sure some of you will take listings at some point if you're not already, 3 to 5 showings chat. So, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, let me tell you about pricing. They're always going to say, let's try it or put it on the market. And like I said, we had 10 days go by without a showing on some of our houses. So I just say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's very important in this current market to make sure you know that we need to get 3 to 5 showings a week. Here's what we know from past history. If you get 3 to 5 showings a week and no offers, it's clearly overpriced. But hey, thank God we know my marketing's working because I'm at least getting them to the house. If you don't get 3 to 5 showings a week, that's another good indicator that we're overpriced. That just means people are looking at homes around you. They're still there, don't get me wrong. However, they're using your home to show the public how good of a deal other people's homes are. And it was not your intention to put your home on the market to help sell the neighbors, was it? No. So those are the scripts that you use. And it's kind of nice if you're a buyer's agent as well, when you are showing property, to look around and see how many cards are laying on the table. Now, sometimes we do know that the clients will pick up the cards and give them to their agents or whatever, throw them away. But also, sometimes people just leave them there. I'm sure you've all been to a house where you've seen a stack of cards. Just kind of look around and pay attention to how many cards are there, though. That's another really good indicator. Length of contracts for buyers agents, and I'm hoping most of you are putting people on buyers contracts, but this was geared towards more for sellers for me. Sellers are finally asking me, hey, what's the length of the contract you're going to sign me up for? And in the last 5 years, I've never heard that again. So we do have an easy exit listing agreement on our contract. Seller may cancel this agreement at any time with 24 hours written notice. But it's pretty interesting to see that they're actually caring. How long are you going to trap me in? So that unique selling proposition or unique value proposition of us giving them an easy exit listing is imperative. So keep that in mind when you guys are working with your sellers. And it's okay to say, look, in today's market, agents are listing homes from 6 months to a year in a standard everyday market. That's normal. There's nothing to be afraid of. And you can go ahead and just let them know that it's safe to sign with you. All right, finally, and this is my favorite indicator, as I go on listing appointments or at least talk to listing potential clients over the phone, they're talking about, what are you going to do to get my home sold? Now, 60 days ago, they said, hey, just put my home on the market. I don't care. It's worth 600. Let's put it on the market 650, and let's see if we can get multiple offers. Well, today, agents, the sellers are actually saying, Mike, show me what you do. So now we can show them really cool stuff. Like Mr. and Mrs. Seller, one of the benefits of listing with Team Bjorkman is this process, finding a buyer for your home, actually started 6 months ago. Look at my database, whether you're using Sync or Follow Up Boss, and show them, look, here's all the buyers we're working with. We started this process a long time ago. As a matter of fact, our team has spent tens of thousands of dollars to create this database of active buyers. These are the most active buyers in our area right now, and no other agent has this cauldron of buyers right now. So this is one of the biggest reasons you want to list with us. And also, if you're working with a buyer and they're saying, what are you going to do to find me a home? You could say, look at this database of people. Most of these people need to sell before they buy. I can simply call them and say, hey, what do you have to sell? So it's interesting. Finally, the listings are saying, what are you going to do to sell my home? So now listing presentations are more important than ever. So you guys have powerful team leaders, so you're in good hands with that. So make sure you're carrying around a few of those and have an emailable PDF that you can use. And then if your team leader doesn't have that on the website with a link to it, make sure you get that done. All right, discount brokers are fighting harder than ever. That's another indicator of what's going on. In the last 30 days, all of our discount brokers are really going, uh-oh, what's happening? Nobody's calling me anymore. And that's super cool for us, right? The discount brokers are spending more money, more time. REX has had a major campaign in our town over the last couple of weeks. They're using dynamic retargeting. They're using every possible social media ad there is, and they've bought almost every single billboard in our town that there is, saying you don't need an agent. So what's cool about that, and if you're working with a potential seller, my biggest script right now for that is, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's kind of funny, based on the numbers I'm showing you, the market's softening a little bit. Knowing over 90% of all the homes go through the MLS, how could you actually trust a company in a downward shift that wants to keep your home out of the MLS, knowing 9 out of 10 sales are like that? It's okay that there's some millennials and somewhere up in Silicon Valley with their flip-flop smoking pot, and they go, how many of these could we get in a month to actually sell? But realistically, what they're doing, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they're just taking chances on your equity. In a downward market, do you want to try to fight 1,500 real estate agents in our local area? No, you need the MLS more than ever. What I would do is I would probably actually give them a bonus right now instead of try to take their commission away. So the discount brokers are fighting harder than ever. And one of the things that I've been using a lot with buyers lately, and buyers are more savvy than ever with technology, and they're talking a lot about how we're going to use Rex and some of these other open house, not open house, but online places, the discount brokers, some of the open doors and all the stuff. And I'm just saying, look, you can go ahead and buy that house that's on Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, Rex, whatever you want. Here's the reality. Us agents, we network all day, every day. We know each other. We have all the buyers. When a home is being prepped to come on the market, trust me, one thing I know is I tell all my friends about it. I know every single house before it comes on the market while it's either getting its carpet cleaned or painted. So it usually takes 7 to 10 more days to get on that website. And here's the reality. You, Mr. Buyer, you're going to overpay because here's what's happening. Nobody wanted that house. It went through a full, probably 10 to 2 week period. All of us agents and all the buyers already sifted through that house. And the reality is if you see that house still on the market, that means number one, it's overpriced. Number two, there's something wrong with its condition or location. And number three, who's going to represent you? If you're doing all the work, taking all the risk, and this agent's giving you all the money back, how hard are they negotiating for you on an overpriced home that nobody even wanted? You should probably do the right thing and work with an agent like me that finds off-market properties and finds you the better deals. These websites are designed for one thing, advertisers only, and you're going to see a lot of advertising on those websites, so they're doing their job, but let me do my job and find you a home that you want at a price and terms you want. Doesn't that make sense? And they'll be like, yeah, and that's a really good, easy way to get them. You like that, Cindy?
Yes, I love it. I love it, dude.
All right, so let's get on a little bit more. Sellers are looking at comps, and this goes the same as buyers. So when a buyer is looking at a particular home, and we kind of touched on this before, make sure you're setting the comparables on them. When something pops up on your Ylopo or Sync sites or even the MLS, the sellers are actually looking now. Before they're like, oh, I don't care, it'll sell. But now you have to know your comparables more than ever. It's so important, because if you just miss a home by 2 or 3%, it's not going to sell. It's just going to sit there and rot on the market. In the same way for buyers, if you're not looking at the comparables for them per house, it's not going to be sold that way either. So it's kind of nice that sellers will actually sit down with us right now and they'll look through the comparables. And it's even the type of market where I will actually put sellers in my car and I will take them around and show them their competition and say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is the market to where every little thing matters. If there's a home out there with better condition, location, or price, and we're testing the market, I urge you not to do that, because here's what's going to happen. So put them in your car, show them 3 homes and say, I urge you to look at your home through a buyer's eyes. If you were a buyer in today's market in this price range, which home would you pick and why? And would that home be your home? You know, so we need to do that. So every 1 or 2 homes that's on the market is competition. And I can tell the seller, I'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I can put all 5 homes in a row, and I can tell you which home is going to sell first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, based on experience, based on comparables, and based on market knowledge. I urge you to consider being in the top 1 or 2, because if you're in the 3 or 4, that's fine. Eventually you'll get caught up, but here's the problem. 1 or 2 or 3 other first place homes will come on the market before yours, so you're always going to be at 4 or 5. And yes, you'll be a contender and you're going to get showings, but you're not going to get the offers. And when that number 1 house does sell, you got to show them, say, look, it did sell. That was number 1. I promised you that house was going to sell, and it did. So you got to look at that closely. Does that make sense? Do we need to go over that more? It's just nice to know they're finally looking. So here's another thing, and this is kind of hard for buyer's agents. You say there's more price reductions than pendings, right? And that's true. I was at a listing appointment the other day, and I was trying to show the owner, and I turned my laptop to him. I said, look at this. This is so crazy. And typically it's, 2 or 3 actives, and then 10 under contract, and then your solds. Well, this was flipped, right? It was 10 actives, 2 or 3 under contract, and then the solds. And I was kind of blown away with them, because this is a really popular neighborhood. I'm like, dude, look at this. I go, here the buyers have 5 to 10 homes to choose from, and there's only 2 or 3 under contract, which proves the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thing. But that is a really good indicator of a changing market. We haven't had that. And as a matter of fact, 6 months ago, if you looked at the MLS, you'd see more green arrows going up than down. So we've done a complete shift. As a matter of fact, in the SRAR membership, which I think a lot of you are in, we had more price reductions in the last 7 days than we did the last 90 days. That is a huge.
Wow.
indicator of what's been happening. So, you start looking at, and more importantly than ever, when you run the MLS, I don't know if you guys know or not, but there's a little button, a little tab that says statistics. I would go to the board classes and learn, or have somebody in your office teach you how to run those statistics, because they're going to help you write offers. They're going to help you get listings. They're going to help you with your social media postings and videos and just your all-out knowledge as a real estate agent. It's your job to know your inventory. So you better figure out that statistic thing pretty darn quick if you haven't already. All right, and here's another thing that's a good indicator for me. My agents, and we have almost 300 of them, are begging for training. They're coming to me saying, hey, Mike, what do I do about this? This is what's going on, da-da-da-da-da. So everybody on this call, I'm sure you wouldn't be on that team unless you were a stellar agent. But here's the reality. This is about the time where agents start dropping off like flies. And the thing that's going to keep you in the game is your training. So real quick, if you have a pen in your hand, I'm going to give you what your daily schedule should look like. It's an hour a day of self-help.
Take
Tony
notes
Robbins,
of this, guys.
Hour a day of self-help, hour a day of skill set. This is skill set, what we're talking about: scripts, dialogues, learning how to use your MLS, that kind of stuff. Every day you need to train like a champ for an hour. And then we're going to talk about 2 hours a day of prospecting. I think it's already part of your contracts to be on these teams that you're on, that you're calling through the databases for 2 hours. But then after that, we have something called 2 hours of previewing property, and then an hour a day of follow-up. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about, whoops, that went the wrong way. Don't look at the screen right now. We'll talk about that in a second. But the most important thing as agents, whether we're listing agents or buyer's agents, is you need to be previewing property all day, every day. As our inventory goes up, the buyers are going to want to see more and more and more houses. And this is the most terrible thing I've ever seen in my life. So if you've ever heard somebody say, what happened there? Whatever. So if you've ever seen somebody say, I've shown property to these buyers for 10 weekends or whatever, this is where it happens. The reality is you can actually show homes 5 on Saturday, 5 on Sunday, and then the buyers will start saying to you, well, let's see where these homes are priced next week to see if they have any price reductions. And you're just like, no way, you found your dream home, let's buy it. So previewing property is going to save you, because once you get to know the buyer, if you see homes every single day, and let's say there's 30 homes in their price range in your area compared to 90 days ago when there was only 3, it was like, here, choose from one of these 3, let's go back and write an offer. And people are like, oh, buyer's agents are awesome, I love to be a buyer's agent. Well, the reality is, you can't do that anymore. You have to know the inventory. So when they say, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 1-bedroom downstairs on a cul-de-sac with a pool and a view and a fixer's okay, you got to pay attention to listen to those things. So you can say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, one of the benefits of working with me is I spend all day, every day looking at homes for you before I even meet you. I know every single home on the MLS, and it's my job to weed through these homes and pick the 3 to 5 best for you. And that way you don't have to go through all these other homes.
Question for you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of team agents on here who, just like the wonderful agents on Team Bjorkman, they cover a wide geographical area. For instance, the guys on my team are all over SAC, Kevin's team all over the Bay, right? So what is your suggestion on previewing homes when you're covering a wide area?
Well, then if you're going to do that, and we say 2 hours a day, you at least want to very much so study the MLS. Really make sure you know the houses, Google Earth them, get the most information as possible. But what I've found in the past is typically there's a dominant area that we kind of specialize in and kind of work. So pick your most dominant area where you say, look, out of the last 10 buyers, 7 of them sold in this particular geographical area. Well, then that's the area you should really preview every single day. But if you're going to be scouring MLS far and wide, you better spend some extra time on it and really get to know these homes. Because if you're going to drive, half hour, 45 minutes away to show property, you might want to try really hard not to do that every single weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Huge.
It's really hard and pretty. This is what turned me in from a buyer's agent to a listing agent. I said enough of this stuff, because the buyers say, well, let's say what's going to happen a month from now or next week in price reductions, and sure enough, all the homes would come down 3%, but now there's 5 new ones on the market that they want to see, and you're playing this never-ending catch-up game as the market's going down. I'll be doing a new webinar on that pretty soon on how to get a buyer to write an offer in a declining market, because it's really freaking hard. And we'll dissect that and spend a lot of time on that. There's some stuff on the podcast already and how to get your offer accepted every time, and also the negotiating one I did, that it gives you some tips and tricks on that. But the most important thing is to really know your inventory, because they're going to spend all night until 3 in the morning geeking out on Zillow. And if you're not doing the same thing, they're going to be all over the place with a bunch of different agents. Literally right now, I was working with a buyer yesterday that's somewhat of a friend of mine, so I kind of cared. I'm like, hey, let me check this out. There was over 20 homes in their areas that they were willing to look at in their price range. And I'm like, how do you pick? And like 15 out of 20, they were all pretty much comparable and nice. So you're going to be like, dude, I'm going to have to show a lot of homes. So if you really know your inventory and you can sit them down for a buyer's consultation and say, look, here's 20 homes in the areas in the price range that you want to look at. I know every single one of these homes, and I'm going to pick these 5 best homes. And here's the reason I'm not picking these other 15 for you. And here's the reason we've picked these 5. So you got to drill into their head. Look, I don't want to see 20 homes. Nobody's got time for that, right? And you can even joke around, ain't nobody got time for that, all that stuff. But the reality is you pick these 5 homes and drill into their head why those are the 5 homes. And, after today, after we go see properties, you're going to buy one of these homes and just, put that into their head. And we have a ton of training on that too, the psychology of selling and how to get them to be emotionally attached to a property. So
Mike,
yeah.
there's a couple of questions here.
Yep, you took it right out of my mouth.
Okay, yeah, you see that now.
Here's one. What's the best way to get listings, Mike?
Open houses.
All right.
Sphere of influence. So the best way to get a listing is legitimately go through every single one of your Facebook friends, private message them, and give them something of value and tell them that you're the best real estate agent in the world. The other thing is the open houses, because half of those people in an open house need to sell before they buy. And in the open house training, I talk about that. And quite honestly, the only reason you should be doing an open house is looking for sellers, and the buyers will come naturally. And that's
all right.
Awesome.
I like that. Next question. How do we handle objections when people say, well, Redfin will list for 1%?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And Mr. and Mrs. Smith, one of the benefits of being an absolute multi-billion-dollar company like Redfin is they can go ahead and do that. Here's what's happening is if you think that all the buyers are only searching on the internet, you have something else coming. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, they're working with real estate agents, right? So when the buyer is looking through the internet, we've all trained them that they are actually looking at overpriced homes that nobody wants. So if you're only going to be in the on these websites and you think the buyers are going to find your home that way, that's not it. We train them that most of the homes that we sell are not on the market. And this Redfin agent, let's talk about marketing. Like, we spend just 1% alone on your marketing. And if you want to rely on the internet to get your home sold, that's fine. But if we can sell your home 3 to 5% higher than with active marketing instead of passive, and you're worried about saving 1% on this side, let me show you how I can save you 3 to 5% and what we actually do to get them sold. So if they're not willing to do anything to get your home sold, you're just kind of waiting around for tire kickers and buyers that aren't that interested. Looking at discount brokerages. A lot of people want to try to save the money, but you're not going to save the money. And we have, if you look at the last on my YouTube channel, right, and today it's called HomeSmart NCG, HomeSmart NCG. The last class is called Buyer Conversion. But the golden nugget in that class, I mean, you guys should all listen to the buyer conversion, obviously, because it talks about how to get them into the car and into the office. But at the end of that combats a lot of the exactly what this question was. And we spent about 20 minutes on Redfin specifically. Because that was a big thing at the time. Like, basically, look, I mean, we spend more than that on marketing. They're not going to do anything. They're just trying to get little pieces and chunks of commissions. But you know what? You're the one representing yourself for the most part. These Redfin agents are not experienced agents. If you look at their history and their past, they don't have negotiation skills. They don't know how to market property. They don't properly promote themselves online. I mean, there's a bunch of scripts and dialogues that we use. And that's a really good video to watch, and maybe somebody can post that in your thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyways,
that is a good-
Yeah, we'll take that.
what are
Mike,
some good
what's the
events?
best way to capture here?
Uh,
What's the best way to capture people's info at an open house? Do you use a sign-in sheet, or what do you do?
All right, one of the things I know from the past, regardless, before technology, everybody wants to be entered in to win something free. So you can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if you want to be in the $100 drawing for the Salt Creek gift certificate for the restaurant, sign in here, right? How are you going to contact me? Either email or phone number. I haven't decided yet. Just put them both. Right? They're like, oh, okay. So, and if they say we don't want to sign in, you don't want a chance to win. When's the last time you guys went to on a nice date night? You know, that kind of stuff. But right now, with our
That's really
Commissions
good.
Inc. apps and the iPads, it's really cool. And people still like to fiddle with iPads and stuff. So I would get a really nice, sturdy, $40, $50 iPad stand, and say, hey, enter this information in. That'll automatically get you into our drawing. And by the way, this will indicate what price range you're looking in. And this will email you properties faster than any other software we've found. But as a matter of fact, that will give me the cue to look for properties for you that are not on the market yet. So if there's
Awesome.
4 or 5 homes not on the market yet and you fill this out, I can actually get those for you. And those are typically under market properties. You'd like a property that's not going to be in a bidding war or multiple offers, wouldn't you? Yeah. So some of the, even if they know the market's changing, say, even if the market's softening a little bit, there's still properties that aren't on the market. And we can agree, if I can find you something special, there's always going to be multiple offers on that. Say a really big yard, maybe a gorgeous view, a cul-de-sac, maybe a pool home. What is it that you're looking for? And then just fill that out and I can get all that for you.
So there are 2 more questions from Ashley. Do you use call action on all your listings? If yes, how many sign calls do you typically get on one listing?
We don't use call action on our listings. We should be. As a matter of fact, I was just snooping around in the office yesterday, watching them do a bunch of call action stuff. But yes, call action is the next best thing compared to the old 800 numbers of the day. And there should be, on any marketing you do, there should be a way to advertise, talk to no agent. Anytime you put that on an advertisement, speak to no agent, talk to no agent, without an agent, automatic, computerized, those are all the keywords that make people say, I'll do that. But yeah, I would imagine, based on our sign calls, if we have 48 signs in the ground today, that we would probably get 1 a day from each sign. That's kind of the norm, which would create a lot of leads. But I'll throw my hands up and be honest and say we're screwing that up.
Oh, dude, we've been talking about that for a while too. Next question: how do you attract people to open houses when the house has been on the market for a while?
The nice thing about an open house is there's always somebody new in the neighborhood that hasn't been here before. There's always a seller that has said, oh, I've just decided to start looking at homes today. So I don't care if an open house has been on the market 6 months. There's always people that are going to see it. There's going to be new to the market. They want to come see it. They don't know anything about it. They've never noticed it before. There's a million reasons. So it's all in the promotion. If you create a good Facebook event, and if you're creating market activity by doing door knocking in the area, door dropping, your Facebook ads, all that stuff, and telling all the agents and emailing all the agents that you respect their agency, you're going to create a lot of activity. But also what I know about that is the number one thing is the agents that have done the last open houses on that home have only used 7 to 10 signs. If you can pump that up to 40, 50 signs and put them in very strategically placed areas, you're going to be doing a lot better. So there's no such thing as a stale open house. I don't care what anybody says. And I'll put my money where my mouth is and show you I can get 100 people through my open house that's been on the market for 6 months. It's not a big deal. And it talks about that in that open house training that I talked to you in my podcast.
Sweet. So
where are you seeing these questions at? I don't see these anywhere.
Where you hit Q&A, but there's one last question, and that is, what are some good events to go to every year?
The best events to go to are the Lab Code Agent event that we just went to, if you can afford some of the higher end masterminds. But quite honestly, there's a little bit of nuggets in every single event. There's a podcast that I have. I think it's called How to Avoid Burnout and stuff like that, or What Should I Do All Day as a Real Estate Agent. I would suggest every 90 days you go to a large event. And every 30 days, make sure you go to a small event. So in your town, every week there's typically a coach or a trainer or somebody doing an event. Go to it. There's a few different reasons. Like-minded people, talk about your war stories, but more importantly, if you sit through a 2-hour class, you're going to pick up one nugget that you didn't know before, and that could be life-changing, life-altering, or make a difference of closing a deal or not. But some of the ones in the past that I've liked to go to, or of course Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Craig Proctor, Walter Sanford, Daniel Penley. There's so many of those. But what I would do is I would, keep my skill set up super high, like Real Estate Rockstars, Pat Hybens podcast.
Really good.
I honestly listen to that every single day because he's interviewing agents from all over the country that have so many different wild and crazy ideas. But I would definitely go to as many of the Lab Coat events as possible. Anything around you that's going to motivate you. But every 90 days, get on a plane or drive far. Get out of town. Go to a 3 or 4 day conference. For anybody, whether even it's NAR or CAR or those types of things, you're going to learn a crap ton, and go to them. If they're over 500, 600 bucks, you might want to talk to your coach or your team leader to see if it's worth it. But typically for 500 bucks, you can go to a 3-day conference. It's mind blowing. It'll knock your socks off.
Awesome. Well, guys, Mike, big thank you. You guys, the podcast. First time I met Mike was about 3 years ago. I was at a conference. I was like, this guy's smart. Listen to his podcast. It helped me level up. I hope that the content that he just dropped on you guys helps you all level up and do more business. Mike, we thank you so much, my brother. Yeah.
Thanks, man. And there's one last question there. Avon Ayla?
Oh,
and there's Don Mowry. What's his question?
let's see. Okay. No, that's
AB, you can call me after this, and I'll walk you through that script if you want.
yeah. That is Avonlea. She's on my team. She's
Avonlea.
Yeah.
Why don't we just answer it? Screw it.
Okay. Yeah.
You're the boss right there. So I've been experimenting with scripts with buyers throughout there that they have been also interviewing with other agents. Now this is a very, very long one. But if you're talking about buyers, I'd say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, one of the benefits of working with me and my team is we work all day, every day with buyers, and we work all day, every day to find properties that are not on the market yet. As a matter of fact, I can sit down with you and I can show you this 21-point checklist that we go through nonstop all day, every day. So there's only a few buyers that we can work with, a handful, because there's only so many hours in a day. If you're one of those buyers that are serious and motivated about buying, we will commit to you if you commit to us. And that'll be our life mission to find these homes. So every single day, at the end of the day, I'm going to call you and say, this is what I did today to find you a home. I went to this network meeting. I did this mailer. I did these calls. I did this Facebook ad. I did. Today, I didn't find you a home, but I'm going right back at it tomorrow. If any other agent will make that commitment, show you what they can do, and call you every single day, I'd be very surprised, and I might consider working with both of us. But until you find that agent, you might want to work with me. No other agent is going to do that.
Money, and that's on the podcast too, right?
Oh yeah, all that's on all the podcasts. Yeah, for sure.
And Don Mowry said, "Wait, you forgot my question."
Yeah,
so, Don. Okay, well.
All right, guys. Well, you have a bitchin' day. Make sure you reach out to me if you need to, but go through those podcasts, and if you have any ideas for new ones, and we're gonna be kicking that up some major notches right now, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, dude. Thank you again. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care, guys. Happy Friday.
Yeah.